What's going on, everybody? It's been a little while since I've made a video, but I've been moving, and now that we're at the new place, I get to introduce my new truck here. I bought a 1978 International cab over. It's a 1610B, I believe. Yep, the Cargo Star. It's really similar to the Lodestar 1600 chassis. I had one of those that was a 65 that's a little bit earlier in my channel. I didn't have the space to keep that one, but now that I have the space, I've got this one. So I'm going to kind of take you on a tour around this thing, show you what's wrong with it, and then we're going to jump right into diagnostics and starting to get this thing driving. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so just for the scale of this thing, I'm recording with the wide angle lens. So if it looks a little funky, that's why. Sorry about that. But I picked up this truck for pretty cheap. Obviously, the cab overs are really hard to find, and this is actually the first 1610 that I've ever seen in pictures for sale or anything with this front end. So that was really cool for me. The truck runs really, really good when you put some fuel down in the carburetor, because the gas tank is not hooked up. I don't know if the fuel pump works or not, but we're gonna get to that. Just kind of a general walk around. It's definitely crusty. It's just gonna be kind of a beater truck for around here, especially I have this gravel driveway now, and I'd like to take it and extend it a little bit further this way, probably 10-12 feet to match that box right there and come up to this corner, get some more parking in this area, and then another couple feet towards the house just to make this a little bit wider, which would be really nice. So I want to be able to go get some gravel, and this has a hydraulic dump bed on it, which is really nice. It needs a lot of little things though. I can see it's kind of rusty down there, a lot of rust over the windshield. I'm really not going to address rust at all on this thing since nothing is structural. I don't care if it leaks water on the inside. This antenna is loose. That's why it's underneath the windshield wiper. It just kind of flops down. One thing that's really nice, if you can see in there, the brake booster has been replaced in the past, I guess, 13 years now, 12 years now, back in 2011. So those are actually really, really hard to find for the older cab overs. I don't know if this one's a more common part number because it's a newer truck. Either way, I'm just really happy it's been replaced. We'll walk around this way. I've got all the cab lights, all the marker lights. The headlights are in good shape. The lights on this thing all the way around, even most of the ones on the flatbed are in there. See a little more rust there. I'll try to shield you a little bit from the sun. Like that. I don't know. Anyways, you can see the interior is pretty messy. Most of it will vacuum up, and most of the floor on the driver's side is really solid. It's just kind of covered in dirt and rust junk, like that stuff that's just kind of been moved around from everywhere. The driver's seat is in almost perfect condition. It's actually really, really nice. And the passenger seat does not have a seat bottom, so I'm going to have to make one of those, just something quick and easy. But we have no clutch, and it almost doesn't even want to come back up. And like every cheap international truck on the internet, no brakes. So those are two big things we're going to have to be addressing once everything else starts kind of falling into place. There's this float here for the sending unit, for a sending unit. I don't know if it's from this truck or not, but that's going to be mildly frustrating if it is. But it's got the PTO stuff right here. This says valve on it, so I imagine this is throttle control and this is for the dump, but just have to play with that when we get to it. Somebody cut holes in the door panels for speakers, which kind of blows, but the speakers work. They're wired in. Albeit crappily, but at least the radio works, I guess. You jump up in here. You can see the headliner's out of it, and the wires for the cab lights are just kind of hanging. There's a little bit of headliner left on this side. The rest of it's all on the seat in here. And like I said, there's no seat for the passenger. I'll have to put something in there. And then there's a cover missing in the floor over there, and then a rust hole next to it. So you can see the shape of the cover, and then there's that rust hole, and then there's a tiny one over there by that trim piece. I'm just gonna probably rivet something in or seam seal or just a little flat piece of metal. I really don't care to make this truck super nice. We have to clean the dash. It's really dirty. It's been sitting a while. But, I mean, all the gauges are there, and a lot of them light up and work, it seems, when we turn the key over, so that's all really good. Manual choke, which seems to be a little sticky, so we'll have to play with that. Oh, here's the throttle for the PTO, so I don't know. I'll have to play with what these do once everything else is working and greased up. There's a lot of little things to do on this truck. I mean, there's a lot of big things too, I guess, but there's a lot of little things. Anyways, we'll jump back out here. The door's shut super good. The windows work. This one actually has the cab lifter jack on it, and this jack has been rebuilt. So it works really well, which I'm really happy about. And a lot of the brake lines look like they were replaced. I guess that's not a brake line, but a lot of the brake lines in the front and to the wheels look like they were replaced when the booster was replaced. That's going to be really nice. The frame is really nice and straight. It's in really good condition. It looks like it was actually taken care of really well, which is way better than the other one. Even the little supports up there, like the wood pieces, look like they'd been changed frequently instead of just being super old. And this piece right here that catches the bed when it falls back down is not all banged up. So it actually seems like it's been taken care of by whoever was using this truck and working it. It really hasn't leaked anything since it's been here, which is good. It's got good oil in it. The radiator busted on the way home, which kind of sucks. So it must have been loose in there. But the fuel tank, well, that is that sending unit for this guy. So I need to put some cover on that. But it needs to be plumbed up. Somebody put an electric fuel pump in here, so hopefully that works. That'll actually be really nice to get fuel up to the engine. But I'll have to fish these lines out of here and hook back up to these guys. And then I assume that this is something with that sending unit, because it's got a wire. I don't know. It's not magnetic. I thought it would be. There's a lot of stuff to figure out on this truck, but anyways, continuing back. The drive shaft is disconnected because the guy I bought it from said he couldn't figure out. He thought the gears were too floaty or too vague for him, and he didn't want to accidentally start it in gear. So he took the drive shaft off so that he could start it. And I don't know what he's talking about. You can pretty clearly feel when it goes in and out of gear. It's no sports car or nothing, because it's an old medium-duty truck, but the gears are definitely there. So I don't know what he's talking about. I'll have to just bolt that on real quick. That'll be nice and easy, but I may leave it undone while we play with the clutch just to see, but that's what this ratchet strap is doing. Just held it up so we weren't dragging it and knocking it on and stuff, pushing the truck around. Let's see. She's got the Dayton hubs and the old split ring wheels that need to go kind of as quickly as possible. Definitely very scary to work with, and I don't want to have to do anything with them. Getting the brakes going, I'm hoping I can leave the wheels on, because all the brake lines look good, and that booster and slave cylinder is in really good shape. So I should be able to just play with the master off the pedal in the cab, hopefully clean it, reseal it, fill it with fluid, whatever, and we'll get some brakes and clutch, or at least one or the other, so I don't have to take these off. And you can find the solid wheels for the Dayton hubs for free pretty frequently around here in the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana kind of tri-state area. They go up quite a bit, so I'm pretty optimistic about getting wheels that work with this truck. I'm just gonna have to try to find some with halfway decent tires, so I don't have to go and buy new ones. The bed is super rough. All the wood is all rotten, so it all has to be replaced. I'm considering maybe doing a steel bed instead of a wooden one, just because wood prices are so high, and steel prices are high too. But I got a buddy that has a fab shop, and he's got good connections to getting some cheaper wood, so I might do that. There's like a ton of hardware up in front right there. We covered it with boards and stuff to tow it home so stuff wouldn't be flying out. And then some airlines back there, which is actually kind of nice. The back of the truck here, you can kind of see it's a little wavy and beat up, like they backed it into stuff, and obviously these two lights are broken. These frame rail pieces off of the dump bed are pretty banged up, but the frame and the hinges and stuff on the truck are actually in really, really good shape. So I'm really happy about the condition of the truck overall. I think that's about all there is to it for the little walk around video. So I think next I'm gonna go get some brake fluid and fill both of the reservoirs up there and see if I can't get any kind of a feel in the brakes and the clutch, and we'll go from there. I got you guys set up on the tripod here. I'm gonna try to work around you so you can see what's going on. But I got some .3 brake fluid. Doesn't really matter to me what kind of brake fluid's in here, as long as there's some sort of hydraulic fluid that'll actually work, and .3 is what I have laying around. So on these, I guess these would be the masters since they're the first one in the system and they hold the fluid. They have these little twist cap things on them. This one's actually really crusty, which is weird. The other one looks a lot nicer. But it has this reservoir here with the pump, and then a soft line that goes down to a slave cylinder because of the tilt on the cab. A lot of stuff is a lot more complicated because of this, and there's kind of a reason not a lot of trucks are cab overs anymore. In the US anyways, because we have the space generally for a truck with a dog nose to get around, where the stubbiness of a cab over really isn't a requirement like it would be in other countries. Anyways, we're just gonna try to get the vice grips on there. Maybe I should have grabbed my bigger ones. I'm seeing that now. And see if we can crack this loose. Oh yeah, that was not bad. That's a good sign. See if there's any fluid down in here. It should be kind of just pouring out, so I think it's empty. This is exactly the same kind of setup that we had on the 65. I figured a lot of stuff would be pretty similar. Internationals kind of didn't evolve very much underneath the hood back in these days. I mean, they did and they didn't. That's kind of a toss-up, but like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But pour some fluid down into here. Ooh, it's full. Okay. That's not what I wanted to see. Wanted it to be more empty than that. I guess it's a good thing that the system's holding fluid, but now I have to figure out why it's not working. And bleeding is definitely going to help. There's a lot more room to pour fluid down into here than there was in the last one. You couldn't hardly get a bottle up underneath the dash in the last one, so that's actually pretty nice. So we got that on hand tight. We're going to give it just a little snug with the tool. Just like that. That should keep it from leaking. And it feels like it's not doing anything still. Another thing that I'm going to do, if filling and bleeding doesn't fix it, is I want to take these out of the truck and pull them apart and clean up the insides really good and put new gaskets on the shafts here. That'll do a really good job of hopefully cleaning it up and resealing it, because it's going to be, I'm sure, near impossible to find a new unit on these. And even if I do, I'm sure they're going to be really expensive. So I don't want to have to mess with that. So I got to get in here from the other side for the brakes cylinder here. Hopefully it pops off just as easy. Oh, that one's on there real tight. like down here these have set screws on them. I think that's for the pedal to come down and hit. That'll be something I'll have to play with. Might have to get a socket to get this one loose, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm gonna go get the adjustable wrench and I'll come back to that. Let's see if we can pop that open, see if there's any fluid in it. Okay, see if we can get this on here in a way where we can twist on it. There we go. See what this one looks like. That one's bone dry. Let's take some fluid. Make a mess and spill it everywhere because I can't hardly see up in here. That's about all of that brake fluid. It's not feeling like it's doing much of anything. Try adding a little bit more. This is a new unit on this one. There it goes. Now it's full. I'll put this bad girl back on here. Then give it just a slight snug up. Just like that. You don't want it to go too tight. And let's see if we can get any sort of pressure on her. Oh man. Having to crawl over the shifter here. Starting to get a little bit of pressure in it. That's what we want. it's getting tough now. It's getting real good. And then it bleeds off. One of those seals is definitely going to need changed. Let's try the clutch. It doesn't have a return spring. That one doesn't feel like it's getting any tighter. It feels like this cylinder might be seized in here. It feels like it goes to here, hits a cylinder, or hits something, and then it kind of tries to pressurize, and that's where it kind of pushes back. You can kind of see that. So I think all of this is just free balling, and then right there is where it's actually trying to do something. So I think I might need to take this one out and clean it anyways. The brakes actually build up some pressure when you pump them a couple times. When you stop pumping, you can hear it hissing and letting off all the pressure. Let me get you a little closer so you can hear that. Let me see. Alright, listen when I stop pumping. Hopefully you can hear that, but it feels like the brakes hold pressure. It's just losing it all right here, and this is all just soaking wet because I was trying to pour the bottle between the pedal and the bracket here. I have to give me a funnel or something, but that gives me some hope for the brakes. But let's jump on out of here real quick, and before we get too optimistic, let's check for a puddle of brake fluid underneath this thing. There's this brake line junction here. It looks nice and dry. It has this newer brake line coming off of it. There's a bleed port, so we're probably going to need to bleed it from right there. Now I'm going to need somebody else to pump on it and make sure that the hissing is actually from in the cab and not from down here. I'm pretty confident it's in the cab though. It's going to be kind of hard to see leaks in the gravel, but everything looks dry to me. Let's go check on the back wheels. Let's crawl up under here. Everything looks dry back here too. Oh, that's really great news. I don't see any leaks. Nothing's dripping. That might be brakes for us. Obviously, we're gonna have to figure out why it's bleeding out pressure here, but if it's just needing to pull that apart and replace some O-rings, I'm all for it. That's been a little, is that a little bleeder? Nope, that's a brake line. I'll have to get some brake clean and spray all this off. It's all wet right now. I want to make sure it's not leaking what we put in it. Of course, I'll have to come back and take an eye out, keep an eye out on the levels, but that's really promising on the brakes. That's good. And one last thing before we forget, put some tape over this hole so that moisture doesn't get down in here and critters don't start living in it. So hopefully that'll keep the inside of the tank clean. I'm gonna have to coat the outside with something. The guy I bought it from cleaned all the coating off, but sitting up under there, it's not gonna rain in it. That piece of wood over the top of it is actually complete, so that'll be all right. Well, I think that's going to do it for the first video on the old cab over here. We got a little bit of diagnosing done just to kind of see what the truck's all about. when I went to buy this thing, I didn't care really what kind of condition it was in as long as it ran and it wasn't a total rust bucket on the frame. So it's good to start learning about this thing a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this is something you guys will be interested in. I know there's really not a lot of international cab over content on the internets, and even the stuff that I was putting out a couple years ago when I had just a little bit of time with my other ones seemed to be something people really enjoyed. So hopefully this will be the same way. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, stay tuned for more. Check out some of the other series that I have, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.